So it's been a couple of weeks since that god-awful meeting between President Ramaphosa of South Africa and President Trump in the White House, and it was, incredibly painful to watch. But we watched it, didn't we? For those who missed it, I'm going to give you a play-by-play analysis and breakdown of the body language, the tension between them, and the hidden meaning in what they say at various points, and what the underlying message is that they're both trying to get across. Because, of course, everyone in the meeting has a goal, right? Everyone in this negotiation has a goal, because that's what this is, a negotiation. You know, there's this saying about two people want two different parts of an orange, right? One person only wants the orange for the rind, and another person only wants it for the flesh. And so when you're in a negotiation, you both want parts of the orange, right? You both want something to do with the orange, but you want different parts of it. And it's about splitting it in such a way so that you both get what you want. So the orange negotiation is a negotiation metaphor, right? Where one party wants the pulp and the other person wants the rind. So instead of splitting the orange in half, which would be compromising, the parties can negotiate to understand their needs and come up with a solution that satisfies everyone. For example, one party can get the entire fruit and the other party can get the entire rind, right? Or they can find a creative solution that meets both interests. So that's just an interesting little analogy that makes me think of what goes on in these meetings and these negotiations. And just bear in mind that they actually have some agenda, okay? Trump's agenda is very clear, very racist, very pro-white, and it came across horrendously in this. And what I don't like about Ramaphosa is that, you know, he was a bit subservient. I mean, he comes from the old world, right? He's a boomer like Trump, and he comes from that generation, that 50s mentality of, you know, white superiority or whatever. So he's one of the sleepy-eyed, pot-bellied generational leaders that has held our great continent back in the quagmire for a long time. However, in this instance, I'm more on his side than Trump's, obviously. So, but yeah, I'll give you a neutral breakdown of everything that's going on here. Let's get into it, okay? Are we ready? So first of all, Ramaphosa wanted to look away there, but he's kind of been held hostage there by Trump because Trump wants him to look at a video showing all the graves with crosses, unmarked graves full of white people in South Africa, apparently. Which, you know, this all turned out to be bogus, by the way, if you didn't know. So that's the first part, okay? You didn't see before that, but before that, Trump had shown him the images, you know, the video, and then Ramaphosa was like, okay, yep, I've seen it, and he wanted to move on, and Trump just basically stared him down like, you're going to keep watching this. So that was that little awkward exchange. It only gets worse from here. Let's take a look at what happens next.
Accepting a Qatari jet to be used as Air Force One.
What are you talking about? You know, what are you talking about? You know, you to get out of here. What does this have to do with the Qatari jet? They're giving the...
So you saw that Ramaphosa was trying to talk. He was like, I want to respond to the video thing because he knows Trump has a wandering, like, rambling mind that just goes off. And he was like, oh no, this question's going to really redirect the conversation. I want to answer that. You know, because I suppose in the name of saving face, he wanted to show that, you know, he's not shying away or flinching in the face of, you know, challenges. I'm a good leader, Mr. President, you know, please give me money now. Because that's actually what he wants. He wants funding, which you'll see later on. So he's like trying to tick all the boxes. And again, that's why I say this is from that 1950s mentality. That was kind of how it was, how that generation was raised. To see the white man as the guy who hands out the cash, and you have to fall in line if you want any kind of help and aid. France did it. They were subjugated to that for a long time. And all the French, when I say France, I actually meant the French West Africa. That's what I was thinking of. French West African countries, Mali, Niger, etc. Even Burkina Faso. So yeah, I mean, that was a bit awkward, but it does get worse. So Trump is showing that he has no respect for Ramaphosa because he's just talking over him, not even, you know, but let's just keep going.
And Roberts and the people that run that place, they ought to be investigated. They are so terrible the way you run that network, and you're a disgrace. No more questions.
Did you see how awkwardly Ramaphosa was looking around? He was like, he had absolutely no control there in terms of power. Like, he had no grasp on the power dynamic that was taking place in that office. So he felt a bit restless and slightly embarrassed by that, not really knowing where to put his hands. Now, this reporter asks an interesting question.
President Ramaphosa to do about the situation
I
we've
don't
just
know.
seen on the screen?
I don't know. Look, these are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death. 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 Horrible death. Death. I don't know. To pick anyone, white South Africans are fleeing because of the violence and racist laws. And this is all, I mean, I'll give these to you.
No, I'd like
So
to-
when you say, what would I like to do? I don't know what to do. Look at this. White South African couple say that they were attacked violently. And,
President Trump, when will you go and see for yourself if it is indeed true?
well, I could do that.
Brilliant, brilliant. I love that reporter that jumped in. So if you didn't hear it, the first reporter said, what would you like Ramaphosa to do in order to resolve this, right? And Trump's like, well, I don't know. And cue the white tears, white sympathy tears. Oh, white people being killed. And then he even quotes one of them. White couple says they were being attacked. And now listen, I don't condone violence, but at the end of the day, it's black South Africans taking their land back. So, you know, you should have seen this coming. And white South Africans know that their time is numbered. I do believe that they know that their days are numbered. They can feel it in the air. It's a very tense atmosphere in South Africa right now. I mean, I can feel it from all the way over here. And I stand with the black South Africans in solidarity in terms of land reclamation, dignity reclamation, right? Justice reclamation, basically. You started changing the street names and stuff back to traditional names. Excellent move. And the minority can't handle it. So what? They wreaked havoc for years, for decades, for centuries, right? Violence, forceful land takeover. It wasn't a friendly integration at all. It was war, it was violence, it was death, it was rape, it was massacre, it was pillaging. So you guys are damn lucky that black people across the world have not sought revenge in the way that you have. But yeah, I mean, this, and so Trump goes on, and then you know, this is making Ramaphosa nervous. That's why Ramaphosa was like, yes, I would like to look at it. Because again, he's trying to say that, yeah, I'm on board, whatever you want, whatever you say. Then that second journalist jumps in, and she sounds pissed off. A black South African, no doubt, saying, well, you know, if you're hearing all this, if you're hearing that it's a genocide, why don't you come to South Africa and see for yourself? And then Trump, let's see what he does.
President Trump, when will you go and see for yourself if it is indeed true?
Well, I could do that. Farmers that are being buried. And he asks about a jet that was given. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Oh, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. How dare you talk about jets and material things when white people are dying?
This is one after another. This family was wiped out. I'm just looking.
Can we get a response from President Ramaphosa, please?
reaction to those videos, Mr. President?
That's the one reaction.
Well, I think the videos are so. No. When you look at the videos, I mean, how does it get worse? And these are people that are officials, and they're saying that kill the white farmer and take their land. That's what it is. And I have other friends in South Africa. I have people that left. One in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land. They take your land and they kill you. It's okay, and they say it's okay to do. Now we're going to talk about it.
We're going to.
But this is a tremendous look. This is story recent. These are all people that.
So again, you know, the way he's like, oh yeah, we're gonna talk about it, Big Daddy Trump. We're gonna talk about it. You're in trouble. Ramaphosa's like, yeah, and he starts fidgeting with his hands. What's happening there is he feels like that control is slipping of his image, right? Because he's crafted this image very well. He's tried to present himself as a good leader in the eyes of the West, particularly because he needs funding from America, and that's what he is there. That's what his intention is there for. And now that Trump keeps hammering down on this issue, because I don't think Ramaphosa realized that this was going to be the bulk of the conversation. He thought it was just going to be a talking point, among other things. Whereas Trump, of course, with his melodramatic narcissism, has made it all about that. His kinfolk being erased. He's worried about white families being wiped out. Where was he worried? Was he worried about the black genocides that have been taking place all over the world? When apartheid was happening, was he worried then? What about in America? Listen, I could go on about ICE and how he's torn families apart at detention centers and how he's, you know, repealed DEI protections and black community initiatives that protect, you know, black people. It's just funny that This is what we call white fragility, right? They impose their problem on the rest of the world because to them it's an elite problem and you have to care as well. But not when it's the other way around. As we're going to see, when it's the other way around and when several people there mention to him that it's black people dying too, Trump has no reaction. Trump kind of just is like, oh, okay, well, you know, this is about white people dying. That's the vibe, right? So it's like he has no regard for the fact that black people are dying too. He doesn't care about death. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's see what happens next.
Recently got killed. Yeah. And I don't know how it can get any worse. And you know,
so him slamming the papers down, it's just all these little gestures are to signal that he's the boss and that he's upset. Okay, he wants to make that crystal clear to Ramaphosa and to everyone in the room because he's a performer. I'm upset and I'm throwing a tantrum and I want the world to know. Very reminiscent of the Zelensky incident, right? Acting like a real brat, throwing his toy out his pram. That's what's happening here.
the men that you saw, the people that you saw in that movie, those are officials. Those are people that were in office. They had one march, they had a dance in your parliament, whatever you may call it, legislature.
Well, let me clarify that.
Yeah,
let me clarify that because what you saw, the speech.
Oh, for the first time, Ramaphosa gets a breakthrough. He actually manages to cut through the noise of Trump's yammering and actually get a chance to speak. Let's listen.
Speeches that were being made. One, that is not government policy. We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies, and in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying.
Okay, that's enough of that. It's so cringy to watch. And on top of that, Trump's not buying it, right? Trump's body language is saying, he's focusing on it, but he's not buying it. He's focusing on the words, he's listening to the bullshit, and he's sensing that it is bullshit. Because don't forget, he's a master bullshitter, and you can't bullshit a bullshitter. That's what you're seeing here. I mean, just look at the body language where it's paused right now. You know, look at that body language right now. Ramaphosa's very much, please, sir, this is not what it looks like, I promise you. And Trump's like, well, I'm afraid it doesn't look good for you, boy. And he's like, no, massa, that's not what it is. I promise you, nothing to do with us, good sir. This doesn't affect our chances of getting funding from you, right? This is the dance that they're dancing in between the words. I promise you. But let's continue.
Even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can take land.
And then when they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No.
Oh, so nothing happens when racial injustice occurs, right? Oh, rich. Isn't it rich? And then, of course, Ramaphosa distancing himself from that even more, saying, no. I'm not for the progress of my people. I don't want my people to own, land rightfully. No. We'll stick to the bureaucracy and the red tape. Thank you very much. Let's keep going.
There is
nothing happens.
There is criminality in our country. People who do get killed, unfortunately, through criminal activity.
Why did he say killed like that? I think he was almost scared to say the word because it's like, we're actually admitting that death happens in South Africa, which is not going to help our case here in the middle of accusations of, a white genocide.
Are not only white people. Majority of them are black people.
Boom! Let's replay that. Let's run that back.
Are not only white people. Majority of them are black people.
Right? Look at his face right there. Almost like, well, yeah, but that's not the focus of this discussion. Peep it again.
Majority of them are black people. And we have now
the farmers are black. The farmers are not black. I don't say that's good or bad, but the farmers are not black. And
that's incredible. He's telling you that black people are dying too, and you ping it back to the fact that the farmers aren't black. Some of the farmers are black. In fact, most of them are black. Which his Minister of Agriculture goes on later to say, who was also white, by the way. sticking up for Ramaphosa, thus making Trump look like a fool. But you saw that as soon as he said that it's black people dying, not only white people, you saw Trump's head swaying, like evaluating how worthy of a shit he should give, like weighing up the value of black lives against white lives. That's what he was doing. Because he then goes on coming out on the white side saying that, well, the farmers are white still. This is still about whiteness. Terrible human being. Let's keep going.
And the people that are being killed in large numbers, and you saw all those grave sites, and those are people that loved ones going, I guess on a Sunday morning, they told me, to pay respect to their loved ones that were killed.
And then he goes on, ooh.
Heads chopped off, they died violently, and, you know, I mean, we're here to talk about it, and I didn't know we'd get involved.
Okay, he just goes on to ramble about airplanes there. But yeah, so, I mean, you saw that deflection, right? And you know this is what Trump does. He never answers a question straight up. He will waffle and ramble till kingdom come, and I don't know why everyone just patiently puts up with it. But yeah, and we don't know if it's the onset of dementia or, like my friend G says, he's always lost the plot. He's never had the plot. So he's always been on a cognitive decline. He's never had much in there to begin with. A couple of marbles knocking about, that's what it seems like. But anyway.
We need an Air Force One until our sets Air Force One are taken.
Okay. But coming back to this issue, which I really would like us to talk about.
Okay, let's just stop right there. Well done, Ramaphosa, for reining it back in, right? Asserting his dominance, finally, for the first time in this meeting. He's actually asserted his dominance here and said, no, you know, I want to control the direction of this conversation. Let me address your first point so that you know that I'm not running from it, so that we can move on to what I really want to talk about.
And talk about it very calmly. We were taught by Nelson Mandela that whenever there are problems, people need to sit down around a table and talk about them.
Well, there are problems.
And this is precisely what we would also like to talk about.
So Trump's about to go ahead and completely disrespect him, and we'll get onto that in a minute, but I just wanted you to pay attention to the hand gestures that Ramaphosa was making. These are very typical in Africa, often indicating submission and, like, you know, open-heartedness, like honesty, pleading, like trying to show fairness, right? Trying to show fairness. And I feel like that's what Ramaphosa is doing right here. And again, he then goes on to quote the great 1950s generation hero, which is Nelson Mandela. He then goes on to say that, you know, Mandela said, whenever there are problems, we gather around a table. We'll talk about it calmly, nicely. He keeps trying to placate the president, okay? Because, once again, you got to stroke the ego if you want the dough. I just made that up. Doesn't quite rhyme. It's not quite a rhyme, is it? It's kind of like, it's like a three-legged chair. Okay, so while he's talking about this, and again, Trump knows it's BS, because Ramaphosa, you have to understand, doesn't really mean any of this. He doesn't want to be giving fellatio. He actually has to do it because he needs that money, right? But at the same time, Trump can pick up on that insincerity, right? And that's because Trump himself is an insincere person. He's a con artist. I'm not saying Ramaphosa is. I'm just saying that Trump is, like I said, master bullshitter, and he can just sense that this isn't quite genuine enough. It's not quite heartfelt. Because I'm sure in his heart of hearts, Ramaphosa can't possibly care. I'm sure he has to performatively care because he's the damn president. But he's a black person in a world that has been incredibly horrible to black people. So, you know, in a country particularly that he's in. So, you know, his white sympathies can only go so far. And if you think otherwise, you are delusional. But as he's talking, Trump goes on, carry on showing the evidence. And I find that kind of disrespectful because it's kind of cutting him off, passive-aggressive, just to highlight once again, white genocide. And by the way, you do know that he got this idea from Musk, right? This whole genocide nonsense. Remember that interview that Elon did with Don Lemon at Tesla? When he said, oh, there's a white genocide, there's a slow white genocide going on in South Africa, do you care about that? I knew from then that wasn't going to be the last we were going to hear about this. I knew he was going to bring it up again, and here it is, lo and behold.
Including, of course, trade matters, investment matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States.
So what he's just said there was including trade matters and investment matters, i.e. he was giving the agenda for what he wants to talk about this meeting. So he, just like I said, he was saying, I want to bring up your thing, we can talk about that calmly and quietly, but then we also want to talk about other things.
Those are all deaths.
Yeah, in many ways, I mean, one should...
Those are all deaths. Now Trump's doing that hand gesture, that, you know, Woe is me. Care about my pain. Ramaphosa's being a bit more assertive now. Let's see what he has to say.
You are a partner of South Africa, and you are raising concerns, and these are concerns that we are willing to talk to you about. Let me just add quickly, you know, the criminality that we are experiencing in our country needs quite a lot of technological capability. And in one of our areas in South Africa, we're using US technology, which is able to, in many ways, identify where shootings are happening and all that. And I'd like to talk about that because there is support that we can get from you as the United States to help us deal with all these acts of criminality. And that is what I believe partnership is all about.
So, yeah, here he's basically just summarizing and presenting his elevator pitch about why he's there and really digging into the investment side of things. But he's just showing Trump very clearly that he understands the play of the game. Like, he understands the process. He understands the rules to this dance, right? Yes, we will talk about it, but I see you as a partner. He's just trying to butter him up, man. He's just lathering butter onto that toast. He is really trying to appease Trump. He's even using the best English. Like, he's trying to use his most posh, most pronounced African English. And what I mean by that is, I mean, from an accent perspective, enunciating every T, trying to, but then when you say United States, you say it with an Americanized accent, like United States. The way he's really speaking the Queen's English, he's really trying to, and again, that is a typical boomer thing, a Commonwealth thing, older generation speaking the Queen's English, and really turning it up a notch when they're around white people. Like, yeah, second-gen Africans can relate. Like, your mum's talking, like, she'll just talk however to you, like, with the African accent, and as soon as the white people are around, or she's on the phone, yes, hello, I'd like to make an appointment. You know what I'm talking about. It's funny. It's something that second-generation diasporans will know about. And yeah, that's what you're seeing here.
We are here as a partner so that we can help each other whenever there are challenges. So I'd like us to discuss it, and of course outside of the media, so that we sit down and have a really good discussion that will lead to good outcomes.
Very cringy. The way he's kind of almost patronizing and trying to be very simplified and just like the good old days, we can just sit down and talk about it. And yeah, Trump's like, nah. I feel like Trump hates the guy, honestly, at this point. He probably does because he's allowing his people to be murdered. But yeah, it's Ramaphosa's usual charm, whatever that is, isn't working here. And I think Ramaphosa's fast realizing that.
Are there any other punitive measures that could be in place should you not be satisfied that South Africa is fixing some of the very bad things, in inverted commas, that you tweeted are happening?
Well, there are a lot of bad things happening in many countries, but this in particular has been very, very bad, very bad. And because of we're going to have the whole world watching in another short period of time because you have the G20. And that's a big deal.
There it is. There's that blackmail drop. The G20. Now he's using that to dangle that over his head. Well, if you want me to say good things about you at the G20 summit, you'd better fix this problem.
It seems like, I want you to look good. I don't want you to look bad.
Very good.
But we have hundreds of people, thousands of people trying to come into our country because they feel they're going to be killed.
Now, doesn't that sound like a threat to you? A very thinly veiled threat. That's because it was. And
their land is going to be confiscated. And you do have laws that were passed that gives you the right to confiscate land for no...
Yes, they do have laws that allow them to confiscate land that was unrightfully stolen in the first place. You're conveniently leaving that part of the history books, aren't you, Trump? Let's keep going.
Payment. You can take away land for no payment.
I want to clarify that because we have a constitution. Our constitution guarantees and protects the sanctity of tenure of land ownership. And that constitution protects all South Africans with regard to land ownership. However, we do say, because we've got to deal with the past, the government, and as your government also has the right to expropriate land for public use.
And you're doing that.
And we've never really gotten underway with that, and we are going to be doing so.
You're taking people's land away.
We have not.
From them.
We have.
And those people, in many cases, are being.
That is hard to watch. You know, the subservience in that gesture alone is hard. It's hard to stomach. But what's happened here is Ramaphosa starts spinning some bullshit about how he was talking about expropriating land for public use and that's all it is. Come on, but you lying to. We know this is like private land ownership for people as well and families. Why are you denying that? Why are you backtracking on that? And then Trump basically says, no, that's bullshit, mate. You're giving land away. I know you are. You're taking land, and Ramaphosa's like, no, that's not. And it's just, but it is.
Executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that. How do you explain that? They're taking people's land away, and in many cases, those people are being executed. And in many cases, it's not the government that's doing it. It's people that kill them and then take their land, and nothing happens to them. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country. They're also going to Australia in a smaller number. But we have thousands of people that want to come into our country, and they're white farmers, and they feel that they're going to die.
What can South
Oh, they're going to die. Listen to what this reporter asks. What can South Africa, that's the beginning of it,
Africa do? What concessions would you like to see them make to improve relations with the United States? Then I have one more for President Ramaphosa afterwards.
Well, you know, we just spoke about it. I got them a very, very complex machine, 150 of them. And I was asked by the president if it could help, and I did that. And, you know, I have great feeling for all countries. I deal with all countries. But I have a great feeling for South Africa because I have friends. I have a couple of friends, a few friends here today. I have many friends from South Africa, but many of those friends are not, they can't go back. I have.
Are all those friends white, Donald? What does that say about you, Donald?
Elon is from South Africa. I don't want to get Elon involved. That's all I have to do, get him into another thing. But Elon happens to be from South Africa. This is what Elon wanted.
Did you hear that? This is what Elon wanted. You know Trump's got diarrhea of the mouth. He's always letting shit slip. And he just did. Like I said, Elon's been planning this for a minute, I think.
Sending rockets to Mars, okay? Yes. He likes that better. He likes that subject better. That's right. But Elon is from South Africa.
Why is Ramaphosa pandering, agreeing with Trump? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, laughing in on a joke that you weren't part of. You know, Elon is a scientific racist. I mean, there was a time when he was actually propagating bogus epigenetic theories that had been debunked. He was propagating them again and reawakening lost racist theories from the mid-19th century, you know, around that Darwin time. And he was showing links to so-called studies that support those racist theories. So he's a big propagator of that. And of course he's got his project, his special white race restoration project. So I don't know why Ramaphosa is trying to act like he's buddies with the guy.
Want to talk to him about that? I don't think it's fair to him.
That's right.
But I will say that that scene of, you see how many crosses they have. Those crosses, that's a dead person in every one of them. And those trucks or cars are paying their respects to all of those dead people on a Sunday morning. That's a rough thing to explain away. A correct and a fair media exposes things, but we have a very corrupt media. They won't even report this. If this were the other way around, it would be the biggest story. Now, I will say apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest story. That was reported all the time. This is sort of the opposite of apartheid. What's happening now is never reported. Nobody knows about it.
Did you catch that? He said that the real media would expose things. So he's saying that this is something sinister that needs to be exposed, and that then he realizes his bullshit and says. Then he quickly mentions apartheid. That was also wrong. Like yeah, black people died. Get it, wrong. But this is kind of the opposite of that. And he's like, if it was the other way around, we would, it would be everywhere. If it was the other way around, it would be everywhere. If it was DEI related, it would be everywhere. Yeah, then he quickly realizes and backtracks and says that apartheid was also bad. Guy's an idiot. He knows exactly what he's doing when he makes his racist moves.
With people, with white farmers from South Africa, and it's a big problem. Marco Rubio was telling me he's never seen anything like it. The numbers of people that want to leave South Africa because they feel they're going to be dead very soon.
72% of farmers in your country are white. If they flee, do you feel that maybe the economy could collapse? You may not have a gap to fill in those people?
So what we have here is one of Trump's lackeys. Oh, look at me, Mr. Trump. I want to have a go. I want to have a go. What he's saying here is that most of your farmers are white. Isn't your economy gonna collapse without them? Seeing as you want to get rid of them all, doesn't your country need them to function? It reminds me. I don't know if that's not the same guy from the Zelensky meeting where one of them was like, "Why are you not wearing a suit like the rest of us? Why are you not wearing a suit? Why are you not wearing a suit?" You know, trying to shame him with Western ideologies. And here he's trying to scaremonger him with Western numbers, like. And Ramaphosa, I must say, handles this beautifully, masterfully, slap in the face, chef's kiss. Mwah. Watch what he does.
That we replace those farmers.
You know, I'd like my Minister of Agriculture, who is white, who comes from an opposition party to mine, who's joined my government at my invitation to address this very issue, including the question that you've just raised. John?
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Mr. President, thank you for welcoming us to the White House. As the Minister of Agriculture.
Okay, so he, at the very least, acknowledges President Ramaphosa. Notice that, okay, because that is going to be significant later when other Afrikaners speak, and not all of them greet Ramaphosa, but they do all acknowledge Trump. And I just thought that was very interesting and very telling.
It is something that I'm particularly exercised with my colleagues at police and my colleagues in the justice cluster to start making farm attacks and stock theft a priority crime. And it affects all farmers in South Africa, particularly stock theft. It has a disproportionate effect on smallholder black farmers. I also want to just say this, that the two individuals that are in that video that you've seen are both leaders of opposition minority parties in South Africa. Nkonto Wesizwe under Mr. Zuma, and the economic freedom fighters under Mr. Malema. Now, the reason that my party, the Democratic Alliance, which has been an opposition party for over 30 years, chose to join hands with Mr. Ramaphosa's party was precisely to keep those people out of power. We cannot have those people sitting in the union buildings making decisions. And that is why after 30 years of us exchanging barbs across the floor in Parliament and trying to get one over on each other, we've decided to join hands precisely to keep that lot out of government. Because the day they get in to the doors of the union buildings in South Africa or control of our Parliament, that's what you're going to see.
What are we going to see exactly the day they get into power? Land being redistributed and the way it should be? Of course, you've got everything to fear, white South African. But why does Ramaphosa care? Well, don't forget, he's set up in the old world. So he's got all his strings attached to the white man, right? So his benefit comes from the white man's oppression, basically, and remaining in control. The day the white man loses control in South Africa is the day that Ramaphosa's gone, because the old system will collapse completely, the old governmental system. So that's why Ramaphosa is so invested in this and why he's purporting to care.
And that is why this government, working together, needs the support of our allies around the world so that we can strengthen our hand, grow our economy, and shut the door forever on that rabble getting through the doors of the union bodies, because then South Africa's future would be...
So you denounce that?
South Africa's future will be... Did you notice that he didn't finish that sentence? What? Will be over? You guys are the minority in that country, so therefore the country would not be over. But your story there would be. That's what he meant.
Type of language in the video that you saw.
Oh yes, we've always done so. As government, as my own party, we are completely opposed to that. We, in 1955, adopted a document which said, South Africa belongs to all who live in it.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. See what I mean? Chiming the bell of the old world to appease the master. 1955, sir. South Africa belongs to all South Africans, sir. even the racist ones, sir. And again, Trump's not buying it because what does he say next?
Why wouldn't you arrest that man? That man said, kill the white farmers, kill the white farmers. And then he danced, and he's dancing, and it's kill the white farmers. I think, I'm not sure, but I think if somebody got up in Parliament and started saying, kill a certain group of people, he would be arrested very quickly.
Okay, first of all, Trump, that wasn't in Parliament, was it? It was in a stadium. It was an outdoor event, which you were not invited to. Secondly, people do say that all the time about black people and about other races and about, Jews, to kill them. And what do? Absolutely nothing. You allow your police force to stomp all over them, and you even allow your police officers to unalive them. So what are you talking about? Furthermore, your best buddy, Elon Musk, is a big advocate of free speech, right? Including hate speech on his platform X. That's why you guys are buddies. That's what you bonded over, remember?
Quickly. That man is going all over South Africa, and that's not a small party. That was a stadium.
Oh, nothing gets past you, Trump. That's not a small party. That was a stadium.
And I hardly saw an empty seat. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of representation. And those crosses, we have dead white people, dead white farmers.
How many times can you say white in a meeting? Like, how many times can you say it to make the point? Like to really highlight and emphasize that you are a white supremacist. It's insane. It's insane that he was allowed to talk this way, honestly.
And you take a look at Australia. They're being inundated, and we're being inundated with people that want to get out. And their farm is valueless. It's valueless. And they just want to get out with their life.
Sorry, are we supposed to be crying? Am I supposed to be shedding a tear right now? Because I actually feel absolutely nothing. I'm just waiting for you to get to the point.
It's a very serious situation. And the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed.
Whoa, what did he just say there? What did Trump just say there? Hold the phone. Did he just dabble in dangerous words? Did he just dabble along the edges of ethnic cleansing? Did he just allude to that? Let's run it back. You tell me.
And the beauty of exposing it is it's like a cleansing action. When it gets exposed, it'll get fixed. That's when it'll get fixed.
Ooh. And he realizes maybe that he's said a bit too much because he starts to adjust his cuff sleeve there. But goodness me, what I heard was this needs to be exposed, and it cleanses the impurity of what the black people killing the white people. So rich, coming from an actual oppressor, not just a descendant of one, but an actual oppressor himself.
But people don't talk about it, and I'll tell you who's talking about the thousands of people that are fleeing South Africa.
Is it really thousands, or is it more like hundreds? And even if it is thousands, I think that's fair. I think that's a fair exchange. Tell you what, why don't you take all the white South Africans and send a bunch of black Americans back in their place? I think that would balance things out very nicely.
The United States always gets the request for money. Nobody else helps, as you know. Europe doesn't help. Europe hasn't given anything.
So that was just a bit of Donald Flex in there, just saying that, once again, we're the superheroes. I'm going to bail you out if I decide to help you, Ramaphosa. That's kind of the hint that he's giving.
If it is resolved, what is the potential for the future-looking relationship
It's
between the United
fantastic.
States?
It's got to be resolved. It should be resolved. It's a little bit bad when you see a stadium with 100,000 people in it, because that means it's more than just a little movement. It's a pretty big movement in South Africa. So it has to be resolved. It'll be the end of the country.
All right, so we notice that head scratch, getting stressed because he's realizing that all his charm and his best efforts have not worked this whole time. And then Trump goes on with his hyperbolic description of a dystopian future where South Africa has no future if this continues. Yeah, things are not going well.
But is there potential for...
No, I'd like to see. I have friends. I can tell you, Ernie Els and Retief Goosen, they feel so strongly they wanted to be here on behalf of South Africa, not on behalf of me. And, they said, can we be here for this? Because they love the country. Ernie, do you guys want to say a couple of words?
God, Trump is on a full-out crusade with this. I mean, he really feels passionately about this. You could see the way when he was, emphasizing with his hands, which he doesn't normally gesticulate with such passion. But here, he's normally quite restrained in that sense. But here he is. He's really emphasizing it. And then hands the mic over to these guys to plead their case before the world stage as well.
This is tougher than sinking a 3-footer.
And then he makes a golf joke. I'm sorry, but when Breonna Taylor was being killed, when George Floyd was being taken out, where was the uproar? When all these innocent souls were being taken out, where was the uproar then? From Trump, because these were your own people, your own, as in your own nationals, Americans. And these were precious black lives. But of course, you didn't care. But now you want to care about things that are happening in a country that has nothing to do with you. See, this is your colonizer's problem. This is your colonizer problem. This is what you lot do. You just can't help yourselves.
They have, and they've sang many 3-footers.
Thank you, Mr. President.
It's that cringy laughing for me. It's that nervous trying to fit in laughter for me. It gets worse. And this is the point where this guy who's about to speak doesn't acknowledge President Ramaphosa because he has no respect for him, right? And that's what comes across very clearly. You'll see what I mean.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thanks for the honor of being here. We've known each other a long time.
So, as you saw, he completely ignored Ramaphosa, but it gets worse.
You know, we're proud South Africans. I still have my South African passport. You know, we travel with this passport, you know, and I got my visa here. So, you know, but we want to see things get better in our home country. That's the bottom line. It's been 35 years since the transition. President Ramaphosa was right in the middle of the transition time in 1990. So it's been 35 years of...
So what's happened there is he calls it the transition, right? He calls that horrible time in history the transition, right? The time moving away from apartheid to a unified nation, right? To an integrated society. But the way he's calling it the transition, like it's some experiment, like some medical project. It was just there's something so clinical about the way he said it that doesn't sit right with me, and lets me know that he was quite in favor of apartheid. That lets me know a lot about him. And then he goes on to patronize Ramaphosa by saying that he was right in the middle of it, like he was just a young kid coming up then in 1990, and it's been 35 years, as if, you know, he's like the owner of South Africa or something. I just think the arrogance on this guy is quite something.
And I know there's a lot of anger, you know, through the transition. There's also a lot of stuff happening in the apartheid days. You know, we grew up in the apartheid era.
You know, he's talking about it with some sort of sick nostalgia. You know, we grew up in the apartheid era, you know, that was a golden age. And yeah, I know there's some anger about it. I know there's anger flying around because of the transition and, you know, the unfairness of us taking what didn't belong to us. But, you know, we want that to die down now. We want that to die down. You guys, you know, help us, Trump. Help us put these N-words in line.
But I don't think two wrongs makes a right. You know, President Mandela, when he came out of prison for all that time, didn't come out with hatred. You know, and...
you know, that is some audacity. How dare you hijack Nelson Mandela like that and use him to make a point of white supremacy? That is sickening. What do you mean that when he came out, he didn't have any bitterness in his heart? Who told you? Yeah, he presented in a certain way, just as MLK presented in a certain way. It doesn't mean these people didn't have bitterness and resentment in their heart towards a system that had oppressed them consistently from the day they were born. Typical. You are some colonizer to think that. And again, he's trying to say two wrongs don't make a right. You know, we did wrong to you, but you can't reciprocate. You can't return that energy. No, this is wrong. You return the energy. We panic. We flee to the White House and cry murder. When we do it, it's fine. It's ethnic cleansing. But when you do it, we can't have that uprising. Unbelievable.
Really unified our nation through sport. You know, we won the Rugby World Cup in '95.
4 times.
We won the
Oof, did you see that? He turns it to sport, trying to say that how proud he is to be a white South African. He's a proud South African. And then he says something about they won the cup 4 times. Well, Ramaphosa jumps in with 4 times to try and like jump in on the convo. And again, he gets ignored by this guy. This guy doesn't acknowledge it. He just carries on talking. Ramaphosa chuckles nervously. It's hard to watch. And I wish Ramaphosa would stop trying to do that. I wish he was, you know, he had more of a backbone and he was more assertive. Although, I don't know his governance, I must say that. I only know him in this context. But from what I've seen and things I know about African politics, he's no different from, the other leader puppets that we've had. Okay, so with this guy, right, I don't like what this guy says either. He's another rich magnate tycoon. Listen to what he says.
In fact, the first time I met him, he was in the youth league with that gentleman. And look how he's changed.
Right.
So what he's doing there, he's saying, I remember this little houseboy right here. And he went to the same, he came up at the same time as that guy Malema on the screen. And look how he turned out. He turned out to be a bad nigga. But you turned out to be a good houseboy. Like, that's the vibe I'm getting from him. And he even, the guy even agrees, like, yes, sir, yeah, I am good. I'm not like him. I'm not like Malema. It's really sad seeing this dynamic play out.
We have too many deaths, but it's across the board. It's not only white farmers. It's across the board. And we need technological help.
Okay, I'll give him credit for that one comment, saying that it's not only white farmers, it's across the board. But again, of course, he's just not quite calling it out by name, But at the very least, he did acknowledge and drive it home to Trump that it's not just white farmers.
We need Starlink at every little police station. We need drones.
Oh no, you do not want Starlink and drones at every little police station. Oof, that would be bad for black people. That would not be good for black South Africans. I feel like the only people that's going to help are white South Africans. Don't do it. Come on, Ramaphosa, don't do it.
We need your help to stop this awful killing. But it's across the board. Ernie is right now building a house in George. I'm building 3 cottages for my grandchildren on a farm outside Graaff-Reinet. I often go to bed without locking the door.
Well, isn't that nice for your white privilege? You're building a village, or whatever you said. You're building a new house somewhere. Your mate's building a new park or a golf course or whatever he said. You don't have to lock the doors. Well, how nice for you. What about the rest of South Africa? Do they have land at their disposal like that? Bit of insensitivity there.
I've been against apartheid all my life, and I'm their number one target.
Oh, poor guy. He's been against apartheid all his life, even though he's reaped absolutely 100% of the benefits of it. And now he's got a target on his back by the same Malema that he saw grow up in a township. You observed him from your Rolls Royce, did you? I can't believe that he's trying to make it about him. I mean, this is what narcissists do, and white supremacists are often narcissists. And in fact, I would say that the two things are inextricably linked. Right, let's wrap this up and let's see what the bottom line is.
Our main real reason for being here is to foster trade and investment. So that is what we need to resolve. And your support, your partnership with us is what is really going to give us a strong capability to move forward.
Retief, excuse me, do you have anything to say? I mean, I don't want to...
So, yeah, bottom line is, you just heard it for yourself. Ramaphosa categorically stated his reasons for being there. The main reason we're here, sir, is because I need funding. And Trump was like, Mr. Afrikaner over there, you got anything to add? Completely ignoring, not validating, not acknowledging in any way, shape or form what Ramaphosa just said. All he wants to know is, do my white friends have anything else to say? Completely performative, a one-man narcissist show, right? All about my tears and the tears of my friends. Well, there you have it, ladies, gents, theys and thems. Let me know what your thoughts are about this video. Do you think I'm right in my analysis? Do you agree or disagree with anything that was brought up in these discussions? And who do you think had the power here? Who do you think had the power in this dynamic? And do you think there were moments where Ramaphosa really took charge? Or do you think Trump held it the whole way? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.